Welcome to XYZ Wellness. This is Elisa, and today we're going to do a short yoga flow. It's going to be a full body practice, but we'll pay a little extra attention to the hips and the thighs. So especially if you're an athlete and you find tightness in the hips and thighs, this might be a really good practice for you. And really, one thing that a lot of people don't know is that we carry a lot of emotion and stress and tightness in the hips. So a lot of times we think about our shoulders being very tight from getting stressed, but our hips are another area that also carry that tightness. So it can take a little bit of time, a little bit of practice to work some of that out. So we'll get started, and we'll come to mountain pose. I invite you to come to the front of your mat, and I'll start here in the center just so I can face you. And we'll first start with our feet about hip bone distance apart. And maybe taking a peek down at the feet, making sure they're in line with each other. And we can make any adjustments so that we have equal standing between both feet. We'll roll the shoulders back and down. And then I invite you, if it feels comfortable to you, to allow the eyes to close or just let the gaze come softly towards the ground or towards the tip of your nose as we first start to observe the breath. We'll check in with our bodies, making sure we have that grounded feeling rooting down through both feet, and we'll soften both knees. So that means letting the knees be bent at least a little bit. You never want to lock the knees out. And then firming up through the thighs. And lifting through the pelvic floor as we engage root lock. So that helps us to harness the energy of the earth up towards our body, into the midline. And let those shoulders draw down away from the ears, letting go of any tension. So a lot of times we just naturally have our shoulders all the way up here, but inviting them down away from the ears. And that move alone can help a lot to relieve stress in the shoulders and in the body in general. And the shoulders and the hips are actually related, so if we're carrying tension in one, we might be carrying tension in the other. So we'll take just a few more breaths right here, just watching your breath, noticing if it's been changing at all, maybe allowing the breath to grow a little longer and deeper. And then as you're ready, we'll allow the eyes to open. We'll bring hands to the heart, taking a moment. So noting how you feel right here and right now, what does it feel like in your body? And we'll begin to connect our breath with our bodies and with our minds. So we'll take a big breath in, sweeping the arms to the sky, and then exhaling, hands down to the heart. We'll do two more like that, inhaling to lift, and exhaling, hands to the heart. One more time, big inhale up, and exhaling, hands down to the heart. So I'll take a step to the front of my mat, and we'll come into mountain pose once again, so you're probably already there. Take another big breath in, sweeping the arms to the sky, and as we exhale, we'll hinge forward, thinking about length of the spine, bending the knees, coming down really slowly with that straight spine. And we'll inhale forward to a flat back. So coming up halfway, either bringing hands to our blocks or maybe to our shins. As we let our gaze come down towards the floor, still keeping our knees soft. So if the backs of the legs, the hamstrings are tight, we can deepen the bend in our knees. But thinking about that length in the spine, creating more space between each of the vertebrae as we go longer from the tailbone to the top of our head. We'll exhale, bringing hands to the floor. From here, we'll step the right foot back, lowering the knee all the way down to the ground. So we're coming into a kneeling lunge. You might want to support your back knee if there's any tenderness. So you could double up your mat or maybe take your blanket. We'll first start here with hands on our blocks. So as we set up in this bridge, we'll extend the heart forward. You might already notice some sensations in either leg or in either side of the pelvis into the hips. And then from here, we'll shift our hips back a little bit. So we're coming into a more upright posture in this lunge. So now our right knee and our right hip are in line with each other. We'll hinge forward, coming back into that low lunge. Hands again could be on our blocks or on our thigh. And then we'll inhale up. So we'll do that 2 more times. Working with the breath. Inhaling up. And then we'll exhale to lower. Just 1 more time like that. And maybe noticing how when you change position, how that changes the feeling in both of the legs. And coming back into that low lunge, we'll bring our hands down to frame the front foot. We'll step the feet back, coming into child's pose. So our knees can be as wide apart as feels good as we allow the forehead to come down towards the ground. Arms can be extended in front of the body if that feels okay to the shoulders. And in this child's pose, if the forehead comes all the way down to the ground, that's great. If not, we can take our block, maybe place that under the forehead. And then checking in with the body, noticing any sensations in the low back or into the sacrum. Or maybe you're particularly tight in the ankles or the shoulders. So just observing what's happening for you as we breathe into those places. We'll take 1 more breath here. And then coming forward, we'll extend those arms all the way in front of the body. Walk our knees back in line with our hips. And we'll hinge forward into a kneeling plank, top of a push-up. If this doesn't feel good, you could be in tabletop pose. And either way, we'll lower all the way down, hugging the arms in towards the body, forehead resting on the mat. We're going to come into a very small back bend, but it's very powerful. We'll bring fingertips next to our shoulders and inhaling, peeling the chin and chest away from the mat into baby cobra pose. So thinking about what we did in mountain, drawing the shoulders away from the ears and elbows in towards the body as well. We'll exhale, coming back down towards the ground, and on our next inhale, we'll push that floor away from us. Exhaling back to child's pose. And on the next breath in, we'll step the right foot forward. So now we're on that lunge on the other side of the body. So right knee is directly over the ankle. We'll first find this position for settling in, extending the chest forward, and maybe walking hands to that front thigh, peeling the belly away from the front leg. And we'll inhale, coming into that more upright posture with the knee and hip in line with each other. Exhaling forward, noticing how that changes the sensations in the hip. Inhaling and exhaling. It might feel better to have your hands on your blocks, and if so, you can just walk the blocks with you. Inhaling, maybe placing the blocks at their highest height. Have that little bit extra reach towards the floor, bringing the floor just a little bit closer to you. We'll do just 1 more time like that. Inhaling, maybe losing your block, that's okay. And then we'll exhale, coming back into that low lunge. Still offering the heart forward. We'll curl our toes under on the back foot, lifting the knee, and then taking a big step to the front of our mats. We'll inhale to flat back, drawing shoulders in towards the spine, still keeping the knees bent. Exhaling, rounding. Drawing the belly button in towards the back, up towards the sky. We'll think about lifting with a straight spine. So rather than curving the spine, we'll inhale, reverse swan dive. And then exhale, we'll set our hips back and down into chair pose. Remembering that our goal is a straight spine here. So we need to sit up a little bit higher so that we can keep that straight spine, then lifting up a little higher, always protecting the spine. We'll inhale once again, bringing hands down to the heart. So another big sweeping breath, extended mountain pose, Tadasana. And then we'll exhale, swan dive. From here we'll step the right foot back and then the left foot back, either coming into a downward facing dog or child's pose, your choice. And since this is our first down dog of the day, we'll maybe add in some motion. We could pedal out the feet, lowering one heel towards the mat and then the other, just alternating as you walk your dog. Or if this doesn't feel good today, remember you can lower your knees at any point. In fact, we're getting ready to step the right foot forward. That can take some abdominal strength. So if you prefer, you could lower the knees right here into child's or tabletop. Or if you want to make this step from your down dog, we'll let the heels come a little bit closer to the mat. And then stepping the right foot between the hands. First finding our runner's lunge, sending the left heel towards the back wall. And then we'll lower that knee down to the ground once again. So we were in this position just a little bit ago, but we're going to explore this a little more. So again, hands could stay on our blocks, or bringing hands to that front thigh. This time we have the option of raising our arms to the sky and noticing that, especially when we lift the arm that's on the same side as our rear leg, so on this side would be the left side in this case. We might get a little more sensation in the front of that rear hip into the hip flexor. We'll bring hands back to the heart, finding our drishti or our gaze out over the fingertips. And then maybe bringing our left hand either to the floor or to a block inside of the right leg. We'll inhale to lengthen the spine, and as we exhale, we'll take a twist. So that right hand can stay on the front thigh, or maybe lifting the arm to the ceiling, but only if that feels okay to the shoulder. If that causes any discomfort, we could bring that hand back to the front thigh. I'm just exploring the sensation here. Now another option, if it doesn't feel good, putting your left hand towards the floor of the block, bring you to have hands in prayer and taking that twist. So no one option is right or wrong, just finding what feels best to you today. And wherever we are, we'll all come back to center, bringing hands down to the floor to frame that front foot. We'll curl the left toes under, and we'll step the right foot back, finding your choice once again, either down dog or child's. Maybe walking out your dog, or if you're in child's pose, you might be just gently swaying the hips from side to side, always knowing that no matter what you choose, you also have the option of choosing stillness. So we'll bring our heels back down towards the ground. If we're in down dog or if we're in child's pose, we'll find that place of stillness. And then we'll all take a step forward with the left foot, lowering the right knee down to the ground, maybe uncurling that back toe. The toes can be curled under if that feels better here as well. So we'll take a nice deep breath in, extending the heart forward, finding your low lunge. Maybe bringing hands to the thigh. Remembering we can lift the arms. And another option here, sometimes this is fun, is to come into cactus arms. You get a little more opening through the front of the shoulders, front of the chest. And these low lunges are really great for getting into all parts of the hips and the pelvis, finding some openness. So from here, we can bring our hands back down to the block and exploring your choice of a twist on this side. Remembering hand could be on our block inside the foot, or maybe bringing hands to prayer. Wherever we are, we always want to first start our twist with an inhale to lengthen. So before we go anywhere, we want to lengthen the spine. And as we exhale, we can take our twist. And that helps to protect the low back, helps us to keep from compressing the spine. So just take one more breath right here. As you notice any differences from one side of the body to the other. Coming back to face the front. We'll bring our hands back down to the floor, curling our toes under, and stepping that left foot back to meet the right. Again, you could be here in table or in child's pose, whatever feels good. So knowing that you don't always need to pick what you think is the right option or the more difficult option, the bigger version. There is no right or wrong. So sometimes it can be really beautiful to just find this child's pose and maybe rock from side to side. Or maybe be in tabletop and you could go through a couple rounds of cat and cow. So I invite you to find always what feels best, listening to your body. So settling into that place that feels good. We're getting ready to step the foot forward once again, the right foot. But this time we'll step the right foot just outside of the right hand. We'll lower that left knee down to the ground. And we'll come into lizard lunge. So lizard is just a little bit different than the lunge we were just in. We can even have, I don't know if you can see, but my toes are out at an angle, my foot's out at an angle, and my foot is right along the edge of the mat. In fact, my knee and all 5 toes are pointing the same direction. So first finding that set up, and this may be enough right here. This is a much different angle on the hip. So you might choose to stay here, or you could come down onto the forearms, if that's happening for you. And that right knee, you might want to go out a little bit to the side. You could turn the foot up a little bit as if you were looking onto the sole of the foot, looking for a piece of gum on the bottom of your shoe. Maybe rocking that leg around. But only choosing any of those options if they feel good to you. So again, not thinking, okay, I have to do any of this. And if it feels better to stay up on hands, you could stay up here. Just starting to work through that hip a little bit. And as we're doing that, we're getting some stretch through the inner thigh as we're opening the outer hip. So maybe just exploring those sensations here. And again, you might have some sensation in the front of the rear thigh as well, into that hip flexor. We'll bring our hands back to the floor. We can bring that foot back to center, and then we'll shift the right knee back. And again, your choice here. Tabletop, cat and cow, or maybe coming into down dog or child's pose. So I'll stay here in cat and cow, working out my spine a little bit. And then bringing my hips back to the sky. Maybe you might choose to do the same or listening to your body, whatever feels good. We'll get ready to step the left foot forward. So the left foot's going to come outside of the left hand. We'll take that big step forward, lowering the right knee down to the ground. Again, maybe bringing those blocks inside of that left leg. Finding lizard lunge on this side. So again, having your left foot maybe all the way out to the edge of the mat. And no matter which direction your toes are facing, making sure the knee and the toes are in the same direction. So if it feels better to have your foot facing forward, making sure the knee is as well. And you can stay up on your hands, maybe lowering down to the floor. And you might even have the flexibility to come all the way down to the ground. So find what feels good to you. Maybe rocking that hip in and out. You could peel the sole of the foot away from the ground, but only if that is accessible in this hip. If that causes any discomfort, bringing the foot back down, you can maybe place a little bit of pressure. Now this is just a little bit of me placing my hand here, or just a little bit of weight. So I'm not really pushing that leg away. I'm not causing any type of crazy discomfort into the hip. It's just to explore that opening, feeling that little bit of opening that I'm giving my hip. And then we can come back up on hands, walk that left foot back into center, curl our right toes under, and again, any variation that feels good. So you know your options and choosing whichever one feels good this time. And you don't always have to pick the same option. From here, we'll get ready to lower the knees. So if the knees aren't already down, we'll lower them into tabletop. And we will flow through a few rounds of cat and cow. So if you haven't had the benefit of them through what we've just done it all, you can take a couple rounds, inhaling to drop the belly and extend the heart forward as we draw our shoulders towards one another, and then exhaling, rounding the spine, pushing the floor away from us. Inhaling and exhaling. So as we're going through this cat and cow for just a few more times, just a couple times, we think about starting down at the tailbone, the base of the spine, and then uncurling or curling, depending on which direction you're going, one vertebra at a time, all the way up to the head. So the head travels last. So we might see sometimes in class, maybe someone moving really quickly, and letting the head just whip around, and that can be really unsafe. So thinking about moving safely for your spine, and then also getting that massage. So if we let momentum carry us here, we get a little less of that massage through the spine, through the back. So coming back after this cat pose, we'll come back into tabletop, and we'll make our way into a seated posture. So we're going to come into a very common pose, which is butterfly pose, Baddha Konasana. We might choose, maybe for today, to sit up on a block. So sitting on a block is a really very healthy thing to do for our spine, especially if when you're doing any of our seated postures, if you find yourself rounding back. So when we come into butterfly, it's very common to see people rounding because of not having the flexibility in the spine. So rather than doing that and compromising your position or compromising the integrity of your spine, sitting up on a block helps us to lift up and out of the low back, keeping that length in the spine. We'll bring our soles of our feet together, holding on to the ankles, or you could hold on a little higher, whatever feels best in your body right now. Maybe allowing the eyes to close. So a lot of times we may think that the goal is to push our knees down towards the floor, and the bottom line is we're all made a little differently. So just depending upon how our hip socket and our leg bone go together, that may actually be the limiting point of how far we're going to get in this butterfly pose. So just honoring what your body has to give you today. You could allow just a little bit of weight of the hands onto the thighs or to the calves, but not pushing or trying to force anything to happen. We're just allowing gravity to give us a little bit of stretch in the inner thighs and open the outer thighs. So we'll breathe into whatever we're feeling, having those observations. Relaxing the shoulders or relaxing the gaze. So if your eyes are open, you can just let the gaze come down towards the floor, or you can still keep those eyes closed. And then if you have let the eyes close, maybe allowing them to open, bringing our knees together, and we'll lift up and off of our block. We'll make our way down onto our backs. So we'll take a hold of one of our legs, use that to help us roll onto our backs. And we can either hug the knees in, or we can leave the legs bent with the feet flat on the mat. So either allowing the spine to neutralize with the feet on the ground, or you could hug one knee and then the other. And maybe experimenting with hugging the knees in, and then letting them come forward just a little bit, letting the low back and the tailbone come down. So maybe exhaling as we drop the knees in, and inhaling. So let the knees go forward a little bit. This time we'll bring our feet all the way down to the ground. And we'll take a hold of our block. So we just used our block in our seated posture in butterfly, but now we'll take the block between our inner thighs. And we're going to use the block to help us keep good form for bridge pose, which is really strengthening for the low back, the glutes, and the hamstrings. But it's also going to help us get a little extra strength. We're going to get some bonus strength here on the inner thighs and the low belly. So squeezing our block really firmly with those strong thighs. We'll bring arms down alongside the body. And as we inhale, we'll peel first the tailbone and then the spine away from the ground, coming into bridge pose. Creating a straight line from knees to shoulders, still squeezing that block. And we'll stretch out the front of the body. So we're stretching out those hip flexors once again. Pressing our heels into the mat. We'll take one more breath here. And then exhaling, lowering down to the ground. We'll do that again. So inhaling, pushing those heels down to help us lift through the hips, firming those hamstrings, the glutes, the low back. So this is a very strengthening pose for the back body, opening the front of the body into the low belly and the hip flexor muscles, and slowly lowering all the way down to the ground. We'll allow that spine to neutralize a little bit. So just allowing the spine to sink into the earth. So as we take that breath or two to feel the spine settle, that can just feel very lovely all by itself. So now we'll lift our tailbone, lift our hips, bringing the block under our sacrum. Our sacrum is the bone at the base of our spine. It's a flat bone. And so basically it's between our glutes and our low back. So we'll set the block underneath us. And the block has 3 different heights, so you could choose whatever height feels best to you, and depending upon how wide your block is. Coming into supported bridge. And I know some people who really are not a fan of doing bridge the way we first did it, but perhaps this is a better version for actually a lot of people. So if this feels better to you, enjoying this time here as we feel held and supported. And maybe taking an opportunity once again to allow the eyes to close. Arms could come down to the floor or maybe rest on the belly. And we could either keep both knees bent, or if we want a little more stretch for our hip flexors, we could let the left foot come down to the floor, let the heel rest there. We can actually imagine that that left leg is now coming up underneath the ribs. Because our hip flexor is a very long muscle. It starts at the base of our spine on the back side of the body. And it actually crosses over the hip on the front side of the body and comes down to the top of the thigh. So the hip flexor gets tightened from a lot of activities such as running and cycling, but it also gets tightened from a lot of sitting. So anytime we sit a lot, that hip flexor just gets chronically tighter and tighter. And in this position really counters that because it's kind of the exact opposite position. So you could stay here theoretically for as long as you'd like, but we'll only stay here for another breath or two. And one other option we have to actually increase the length is now to extend the left arm overhead. So now our left toes and our left fingers are reaching in opposite directions, and we're growing really long on the left side of the body. And then we'll exhale, bending that left knee, bringing the left arm down alongside the body. And we can switch sides. So one thing to keep in mind, for some people the block is just not comfortable. And if it feels uncomfortable to you, you could use a bolster, like one of the bolsters I have over here, or you could use a rolled up blanket, or maybe just a pillow off of your couch or a pillow off of your bed. So knowing that you have different options and always picking what feels best to you, never coming to a place that's painful just because you think that you're supposed to. So if the block is just not happening for you, finding something that feels better. It could be a rolled up towel even. And we could even try this with our hips on the ground. You'll just get a little different effect. You won't get the same opening for the front of the hip flexors. We'll take just another breath here. And then lowering the right arm down alongside the body, bending the right knee. You could choose at this point to lift up, removing the block, or you could come to a supported version of legs up the wall, just lifting both feet towards the sky. And maybe bending the knees if that feels better. So the knees can be bent as much as you need, or if you prefer, you could actually come up against a wall if you have a wall near you. So wherever you are, allowing things to slow down a little bit. This is a great pose for reversing gravity. If you've been on your legs all day, or if you are out for a long run, this is a great way to just reverse that flow of the blood, reverse the flow of gravity. And again, another pose you could stay in just as long as you'd like. So maybe pausing the video and coming back when you're ready. Or if you need to get on with your day, we can lower our feet down to the ground, lifting our hips up. And again, you might notice, ooh, the low back is sinking down towards the ground. We'll bring our feet as wide as our hips, or as wide as the mat actually. We'll just sway the knees like windshield wipers. Just as slowly or as quickly as feels good. I tend to think slower feels better, but making the decision that feels right for you. And then the next time both knees come to the left side, we'll come into a twist. And you can either leave the legs wide apart, or you could bring that right knee to meet the left knee. Or another option is to take that left heel, just rest it over the right thigh. Turning the head to either direction so that the neck can be comfortable. As we allow the body to just enjoy a passive twist here. Getting a little bit of opening through the chest. So opening the heart as we add a bit of back bend into the upper back. Again, any position for your legs that feel good. We'll take 1 or 2 more breaths right here. And then if we did choose that option with the heel on the thigh, we'll release that heel back down to the ground. Lift both knees towards the sky. And again, maybe letting the knees go over to the right and to the left. And then the next time they come back to the right, we'll take that twist. So again, knees could be stacked, or you could place the right heel on the left thigh, which just changes the sensation of the twist and adds a little bonus for that left hip and thigh area into the pelvis. But if that's too much for today, then taking the heel away and finding your twist. Letting the body breathe, observing what's happening as we're coming near the close of our practice. We'll take one more inhale and exhale it out here. That right heel is on the left leg. We'll Very gently bring the heel down to the mat. And then inhale both knees towards the sky. And I invite you here to take any final pose that feels good to you. So that could be returning to knees to chest, maybe coming to happy baby, lifting the feet towards the sky, and then holding on. You can hold on the back of the thighs, the calves, or maybe reaching for the outside edges of the feet and rocking gently from side to side if that feels okay to the spine. If not, you could stay still like a dead bug, or you could return to maybe our supported bridge or supported legs at the wall. Any final bit of moving or posture that your body might need. And if you're in happy baby, this is also a great way to release the hips and the low back as we draw those hips down towards the ground. Inviting them just a little bit lower. And as you're ready, we'll make our way into Shavasana. So, any position that feels good to you for final relaxation. It could be on your back, or you could choose to lie on your side, or your belly, or maybe even come back into an upright seated posture. You may want to take a bolster, place it under the knees, or cover yourself with a blanket. We're basically coming into a place of ease and letting go of effort. So allowing the body to let go. Relaxing all the muscles of the face and jaw. Softening through the throat and the neck. Releasing the shoulders underneath you into the mat, just letting them sink a little deeper. Softening through the front and the back of the torso. Allowing the hips to release and open. Softening down to the thighs and the knees. And on down to the calves and the ankles. And the bottoms of the feet. We'll relax the arms and the fingers. The toes. And then maybe taking one more round on your own to just scan the body, noticing anywhere you might still be holding onto tension. And using the breath, directing it to those places to just let go. And if you have the time, you can stay right here for as long as you'd like, or if you are ready to get back into your day, you can start to wiggle the fingers and the toes, maybe making little fists, and then releasing, reaching the arms overhead, getting tall. Almost like a good morning stretch. And bending the knees to turn to one side. Pausing in baby pose. I'm going to take both hands and use them to help us lift back into a comfortable seat. Finding length in the spine as we grow tall from the tailbone to the top of the head. Bringing hands together at the heart. Allowing the eyes to open. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. Namaste. Have a wonderful day.